Hey, Mika, we have a decision from Judge Scott McAfee of the Fulton County Superior Court. In a 23-page decision this morning, he finds that there is not an actual conflict of interest.
Oh, that's gotta hurt!
That she conspired to commit perjury with Nathan Wade and with the other witness. Who are you going to believe, this judge or your lying eyes? We all know there was an actual conflict of interest here. He just doesn't have the guts to say it. And I predicted he wouldn't have the guts to say it. He has to live in Fulton County. Now, he may have said some things that are very critical of her, but still, he should have removed her from the case. There is an actual conflict of interest.
If the decision to let Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis proceed with her election interference prosecution of Donald Trump and his allies has the likes of Trump lawyer Alan Dershowitz this upset, you know it was the right one.
As you said, who is trying to end American democracy.
Correct.
Not as we know it. Let's just say trying to end American democracy, period.
Yes.
I mean, they tried to steal an election. To be clear, that is what they did. They tried to steal an election. There is a case in Georgia because they tried to steal an election. And then to try to get rid of that case, they tried to distract us with salacious gossip that we all watched because it was very compelling daytime television. The judge then says it does not rise to the level of disqualification. They thought that Fani Willis and this case was going to be an easy target. They thought that they could take her out. They thought that the system was not going to side with her. They thought because she had the audacity to seek accountability, she had to be silenced. Well, Fani Willis is still here. The Georgia election meddling case is still ongoing. And at this point, it is the only case where anyone has pled out guilty.
Judge McAfee ruled that the defense did not meet their burden to show that there was an actual conflict of interest in Fani Willis hiring Nathan Wade so she can stay on as DA, but that there was an apparent conflict of interest, so she has to remove Nathan Wade as the special prosecutor because of their relationship. But let's be frank here. Fani Willis was already going to remove him because there's no way she was going to have him in front of the jury and have the jury be distracted by focusing on the interactions between her and Nathan Wade during the trial.
So we can just read it here if you want. The district attorney may choose to step aside along with whole of her office and refer the prosecution to the prosecuting attorney's counsel, which would reassign that matter. Or alternatively, she says the special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, can withdraw. And this is a key quote, allowing the district attorney, the defendants, and the public to move forward without present or remuneration, distracting from and potentially compromising the merits of this case. So the distraction and the potential for compromising is what the judge here is saying is the most important thing. And that's why he's offering this binary choice to the prosecutors.
This is interesting. This whole thing has put any interaction between them under the spotlight. So he was already going to be removed. So this is a big win for Fani Willis. And the judge essentially saying, first of all, that there was no actual conflict of interest, and also that there wasn't anything that was material. Even if at the most they were dealing with $9,000 to $12,000, assuming she didn't even reimburse him for anything where there is evidence to show otherwise, that this wasn't material. He also pointed out that she wasn't acting as if she had a financial stake in it, specifically saying how quickly she wanted this case to go to trial. I love that because she was the one always pushing it because she wants it before the election. And it was the defense who was trying to slow it down. And this backfired for them because she initially said she wanted this case to go to trial within 6 months, which is not happening, and then asking it to go within a year. And so the judge saying, if she had a financial stake in this, she wouldn't be asking it to go more quickly.
Having had the chance to review this order, a lot of us predicted that there was no actual conflict of interest because based on the law, the evidence that was submitted during the course of this hearing, Mika, made it clear that that didn't exist. The question of what legal standard Judge McAfee was going to apply was the biggest question that just got answered. He kind of did a hybrid, right? He said no actual conflict. However, an appearance of impropriety when it comes to specifically the role of a prosecutor is found here. Now, it's a little bit of a Solomon's choice, right? Do you keep Fani Wade or do you keep Nathan Wade? I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, right? You get rid of Nathan Wade, but to the point that you've made and that everybody has just made, including Jonathan Lemire, the delay factor. Remember Nathan Wade's role in this. He started before the special grand jury was even put together. He kind of spearheaded this investigation. So he took this investigation, he fed it into the special purpose grand jury, got those results, and then he also participated in the grand jury. And so you have to think about the institutional and historical knowledge that Nathan Wade has. All of that being said, if the solution here is to move forward with DA Fani Willis and the rest of her team, including the other skilled and incredibly competent special prosecutors in Anna Cross and in John Floyd, who we know is the king of RICO, or the, kind of the professor of RICO in Georgia. Again, like I say, Mika, it's a no-brainer. That's what you do.
So saying, again, no actual conflict of interest, showing that there was evidence that she repaid him, the evidence of the cash that was in testifying, the judge showing that this wasn't so implausible to not be the case. And so again, only this apparent conflict of interest. I said it before and I'll say it again. The special treatment that Trump complains at isn't against him. It's for him. And this case is a huge example because there is no way that a typical criminal defendant would have been able to get the DA on the stand and question her regarding her sexual relationship.
When the state was
it's highly offensive when someone lies on you, and it's highly offensive when they try to implicate that you slept with somebody the first day you met with them, and I take exception to it. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
Not that they couldn't look into any apparent or actual conflict of interest, but they certainly wouldn't have had the unfettered access and wide-ranging questions that the defense was allowed to have for the DA in this case. And the fact is, not only does it hurt her chances even in this, because now she has to overcome all this publicity, not only in her personal life, but in this case as it moves forward. But this is difficult for all of her cases. The judge made it difficult for all of her cases when he allowed such a wide-ranging topics.
What would be your professional counsel to DA Willis in terms of not just the Wade decision, which seems obvious, but just how can she push this case forward with all of this stuff swirling around?
Jonathan, yeah, I think for DA Willis, she just has to realize that this case was never going to be heard before the election. There were too many defendants, all these RICO counts, which each RICO case takes months. So just to keep moving forward, planning that will happen after the election. And if Trump is not president, it is game on. Now, if Trump's president, it becomes a constitutional crisis. He's going to surround himself with Secret Service and say, come at me. And then who knows what's going to happen. But I think that she should just go ahead with the evidence in the law, remove Nathan Wade, and she has two other prosecutors, as has been said. So it should not affect this case. All in all, this is a win for Fani Willis. She needs to move on from the criticisms of her and her behavior. That's in the past, and just keep looking forward.
And let's talk a little bit more about the relationship. Was it a good idea? Who knows? But the fact is, people have relationships with each other. Lawyers have relationships with each other. And yes, she hired him. You can ask whether or not she ever, had any kind of dinner paid for. But the fact is, he had a job before he was hired by her. It is not as if, even if he bought her a dinner and she didn't reimburse him fully, it wasn't as if he couldn't have bought her a dinner otherwise. He had a very successful practice. He even testified that he was making less money because there was a cap on how many hours he can be paid by the city, and he was working more hours than that cap. So if he had been working those kind of hours in his private practice, theoretically, he would have been making more money. The hourly rate he was getting paid, $250, was low for the Atlanta metro area. So the fact is yes, she hired him. And even assuming she got a few free dinners, the fact is she could have gotten a few free dinners from him anyway, even if she hadn't hired him, because this man was a successful attorney in his own right.
I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion. And so there was tension always in our relationship, which is why I would give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
So Alan Dershowitz can get on cable news all he wants. He has pretty much lost all credibility in relation to Trump when he decided to defend him in the Senate impeachment hearings after January 6th.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.